Welcome to a new episode of Women in Property.
Thank you.
So, Cecilia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, you know me already, but just for the purpose of, the podcast, I'm Cecilia. I'm Cecilia Lubbock. I'm a chartered architect, RIBA chartered specifically. I run my own architectural practice, specifically focusing on transformational changes for residential domestic clients. But in addition to that, I also have a buy-to-let property portfolio. And just in general, I'm really interested in property. I enjoy, I think, optimizing and just optimizing in many different ways. There's the experience side, there's the property value side, and also the lifestyle side as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of like the flexibility you have as an architect as well, isn't it? You see the bigger picture, and that's what we'll go into a little bit later as well.
Yeah.
But shall we start with like how we met?
Sure. So, we met at a property event in the pub.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, I think, one of your was it like Airbnbs?
Yeah.
And I think my main angle for you was add a hot tub.
Yeah, because it's in Wales, yeah.
Because it's in Wales. So I've got some properties in Wales as well.
Yeah.
But more from the sort of consumer side, when I go on Airbnbs, especially like trips.
Yeah.
And if it's in a scenic location, I'm always looking for a hot tub at the end of a walk or something like that. So
yeah, that was great advice, but I don't even have a garden.
But I went away thinking, I think she just thinks I like hot tubs. I do.
True. Yeah, no, that's great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey in property, like how it kind of started?
Well, I mean, I think my interest in property started when I was young, but I don't think I didn't really know that. It was just like I was observing, taking in my environment and just logging bits and pieces. Just very quickly at school, I did quite well in maths and DT, so I knew that what I wanted to do was something related to making something, like an end product. And before I knew what I wanted to do, I knew this thing that I wanted. I wanted to be able to drive down the road and look at a project of some sort and say, I did that.
Wow, so
And
you knew that?
That's all I knew. So I thought that it might be media, maybe like graphics design, product design, like billboards or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when I was in sixth form, looking through the careers book, I started in A, I got to architecture, and I never went past architecture. Wow. And I was like, I read the description, thought about it, and I thought, that's it, that's what I want to do. Closed the book, and then I never made it past A.
There was no need to. You found your passion.
Yeah, I did. And it did work really well, actually. It does all the things that I want to do. It's a hugely wide topic. It's not just design, it's very technical. So, and you have to understand people, you have to understand the end user, you have to understand the regulations, you have to think about current and future. Planning, and there's a number of constraints that you have to design around. It's incredibly technical. I think probably one of the most technical careers I can think of in terms of the range of things that we have to cover.
Yeah, I agree, because I didn't even know half of that. I thought you guys just do drawings.
Yeah.
So when you said about maths, I was like, how does maths get involved?
Even things like, can I put a stair in this space? And there's a regulation to do with that, and then you have to work out how wide it needs to be, how the risers are, corridors need to be a certain width. If you're designing a new house, you have to have certain meter squares per room. So you're literally working with, now I'm working with like rectangles that are meter squared rectangles, and then you zone them together, and then you kind of design a floor plan around that. So you put all your constraints in, and then you design.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's a hugely wide career.
Yeah. And this is why your story is important to share, because a lot of people would think, oh, architecture, they just do drawings, or they stop me from doing what I want to do.
Yeah. I do think, so if you think about the architect traditionally, the architect was the master builder, right? So they you would hire, if you hired the architect, you were okay, because they literally took you from the beginning, the feasibility, they worked out all the things, all the little details, and then they got you to the end. Now, I don't think anybody thinks of the architect. Well, it's been diluted. It has been diluted because the other roles are taking on board some of those things. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in principle, but where a lot of projects fall down is where there is no one consistent person. So who is the person that's taking you to the end? So if you have the homeowner that might have said, okay, I know exactly what I want, and then I want an architect that's going to draw me exactly what I want, and then that architect or designer or drafter in that case, they've just drawn a drawing. They've not thought about it. They've not considered the functionality in it. They've just delivered something. And then they walk away, and now that gets handed over to a builder that has no understanding of what is actually trying to be achieved. He is literally just following instructions. So I think it's really important to remember, like, if you go back to the original principle, where projects really succeed is where you understand that there is actually, the goal isn't I want to build an extension. The goal is I want a certain lifestyle. I want to be able to have my friends over in the winter. And when we congregate as a family, and we're relaxing, for example, can I cook whilst my children are doing a certain activity? Are we able to be together? That is what people want. Nobody actually wants an extension, and that mindset, like, it's not the extension you want, it's the lifestyle. So then why do we think that the task is to draw some walls on a drawing?
But it's the way people think. Like, traditionally a man would think of something else, whereas a woman would think of the family and how does it work. Like, usually she's in the kitchen. How does she look after the kids doing their homework while cooking? How does the breakfast work out? Sometimes in the old traditional ways, it was like the men go out to work, they're not too bothered. So I think the lifestyle, bringing that into it, really appeals to women as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think when I speak about how does the home function, when you walk through the door, where do your shoes go? Do you have enough hooks to hang your coats up? And my whole thinking, so I started my business when my daughter was 1 year old. So that's my second child. And, when I would speak to people and say, okay, have you got children? Yes, we've got our first child and we're looking to have many more children. It's like, okay, can we have somewhere for your buggy? And for them, for me to say that blew their mind, really. And it's an important thing. It might just be for a couple of years, but then you think, okay, well, when there's not a buggy there, then what do you do with that space?
But you can turn it into something else. Storage is storage at the end of the day. You can never have too much.
But if you haven't thought about it, that's very tricky.
And expensive to find.
Just really difficult. If you've got a child asleep and they're in a buggy and you don't want to get them out of there, that's incredibly tricky as a parent. For a good few years, that's going to be incredibly tricky. But I mean, that's just the beginning. It's like designing for that situation all the way up to when they're older. Children are living at home for much longer as well. They go to university. Many times they come back and they go back and live at home. So if you've got a number of adult children working, studying at home, how does that work?
Where do they do it?
Do they have enough space in their bedrooms? Do they have their own space? Are they able to have their friends over? And not that we want to kind of helicopter parent or anything like that, but if you can provide a space where your children are safe and they know that they've got their space, because it's not quite like it used to be where everybody, children used to play out. That doesn't happen anymore. So if you can provide a space for them to hang out at home, that then doubles up as so many things. They can have their friends over, you can have family gatherings, and maybe cousins or friends and children can hang out. So it's a whole lifestyle thing. Each client, we go through, what does every day look like? What do mornings look like? What do big gatherings look like? And then based on their lifestyle, we then look at the project brief and the design.
Because I think extensions is what a lot of people do. But we can use the space in the loft. We're not lucky enough to have basements in the UK, but that would be an amazing space as well. But then you have to think of other ways. Like, do you do outhouses and things like that as well?
So it's the whole thing, really. This is why I say it's transformational, because it's not just let's add this box on the back of your house.
Yeah.
It's how can we make everything work together? So sometimes, you know, there was one conversation I had with a prospective client where we were, I do a home strategy session where we look at the property, and before we go into drawing, we'd literally just say, okay, let's discuss everything and let's look at the best way to get value out of it, both from your needs and the property value as well. And they had a nice detached house, but we could extend the ground floor, we could make it massive, but if it didn't have a fourth bedroom, it would struggle in terms of regaining that value back again. So then we looked at a double story extension and how we could do that. And so it's having that whole conversation.
Yeah. And then you have to look at budgets and everything, right?
Yeah. So budgets is a funny one because everything is quite expensive. But I say that now, and the numbers that I'm looking at now, I'll look at them in 5 years' time and it will be cheap.
Exactly.
And so it's always a thing. So I've been doing this for 6 years, running my own practice, and even in COVID time, the people that came to me early on and said, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, I want to hold tight and see what's going to happen, I'm worried about spending, this money, they came back to me 9 months later and their extension had reduced in size because they could now not afford what they could have afforded had they done something then.
Yeah.
So I always literally just say, if it's a long game, you're playing a different game. You're not flipping the property.
Exactly.
It doesn't really matter as much. So you look at it in terms of what will it be worth in 10 years? And if I do a really decent job and the experience of living there sells this property, I always put on this head of, if we were to sell this house, how would it compare to a neighbouring property that on paper has the same things? And most of the time, and most people watching this that have looked at properties, because I get a lot of people that say, should I extend or should I move? Yes. And the people that I talk to that are in that situation will say, well, I tried moving, but I couldn't find a property that actually ticked all the answers unless I literally doubled my mortgage. And that's a situation that sadly is true, that most of the houses don't work for modern families. Yeah. They all need tinkering, and it's not a size issue really. You can go to larger houses and it will be the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you want to tell us about the journey of owning your own your own company?
Oh yeah. Interestingly, I didn't think I was going to own my own practice almost ever. When I was on mat leave.
Accidental.
Yeah, it was accidental. When I was on mat leave with my first son, my friend said to me, and we were talking about her extension and the building works on her house. She said, why don't you start your own practice? I said, no, I'm really happy. And I was in the corporate world. I was working for a developer as a technical manager at the time. And I had plans to sort of make my way all the way to the top.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. Still enjoy that sort of world. And then when I was on mat leave, returning from mat leave with my second child, in COVID, I couldn't get my flexible working terms agreed. So that was it's a difficult world for mothers, and I wasn't actually even asking for very much. I think the problem in that scenario was that if I established a precedent, then others would follow, and I was the first person to ever have even had a little bit in that department, in the technical department.
And that's a problem, right? I don't know if it's a company problem or a sector problem or just life hadn't evolved, because since then
it's changed. It has changed a little bit since then. This was pre-COVID or just as COVID was happening, and certainly after that it has. I don't know whether specifically for those practices that is changed, but in general, my practice is at home. I work from home remotely, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I go to clients' homes, so I attend site meetings, and the rest of the time I work from home. That works. But before COVID, that might not have been looked upon the same way. But I think it is getting. I hear there are some larger practices out there that are giving men better paternity leave, for example, and I think it needs to change more in order for it to be level for women.
Yeah, because like you said, you didn't want to.
I wasn't planning. I really wasn't planning to.
But you were forced.
I was forced to, and so we say at home that I was pushed out the boat. is what we say. Tough. So, you know, when you're sitting in the boat and you're like, no, I'm just going to keep pedaling.
Yeah, I'm happy.
And then but I was pushed out the boat. And then I just thought, right, my children aren't numbers. I'm not a number. I'm going to make this work. And so I went to the thing that I knew I could do, which was start my own architectural practice. I had a project more or less within a week or two.
Contacts? Is that how it works?
Yeah. I just basically shared it with a couple of friends, and then I did my first extension like the next week I started.
Yeah. So you told your friends
Yeah.
you're leaving work and you're starting your own practice.
Yeah.
Did you say that you can help them, or
yeah,
did they knock
actually,
on your door?
That conversation started with we're thinking about doing something with the house, but we think it's going to be really easy. We're just going to like square something off. And it sounded like it wouldn't be particularly transformational or whatever. But I think what came out of that was really that initially a lot of people think that you just need a box on the back of the house because that's what everyone does. But the project ended up being, once we understood what they actually wanted, we did a whole redesign. And the roof was really interesting. The shape was vast and impressive.
Yeah.
And so the outcome was very different from the initial conversation.
Yeah. Because I think by having an expert on board,
Yeah.
your ideas just go out the roof.
Yeah.
Because we are in a box. We see what other people have done.
Yeah.
We see what other people on the road have done. But until you have an expert who actually knows what is possible, it's completely different.
And you see that when you I've worked for some incredible architectural practices, and when you see the thinking and the way that the work is delivered, it's really impressive. And there's so many talented architects out there in the commercial world. And then you look at the domestic residential sector, and then you see that all of these homes just have extant boxes on the back of their houses, and just that isn't always translating. And so I just felt the need that, well, why can't you have something better?
Exactly.
Yeah,
because I think it's really handy, because to be honest, I'm new to property, but having a friend who is an expert in certain property areas, it's really helpful, because there's so much that I've learned from your content and conversations that I've also been able to tell my friend. Like, she's just purchased a property and she says it's a maze and I don't know what to do with it, and I'll probably have to take it back to brick. I was like, you need to talk to my friend.
Okay.
She's an architecture. Like, we don't know what we need until somebody says, oh, I know someone. Oh, we can do it this way. Have you thought about this? And I think that's what you bring to the table.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of people don't know what to do. And I think when homeowners then think, well, this doesn't really work for me, then they think, I need an extension. And then
I need more space.
Yeah. And then they put an extension on, and so now they've got this new extension, but they've still got the rest of the house that isn't functioning just as well. So
do you prefer the back to brick, or do you prefer trying to add something?
I think back to brick's brilliant.
Because it's your own.
I just think when you buy a house and you know you're going to do work for it, just buy the worst house and just strip it out.
Yeah.
And just don't feel bad about it. I think it's brilliant. When I see a house that's just like not been touched for years, I'm like, that's brilliant, because you're not going to feel bad one bit for stripping it out. Because the problem is, if you buy somebody else's finished house and it still doesn't work, you're literally ripping out like
the value that you've already paid
these
for.
Kitchens, you've paid for that. Yeah, you've paid for it. So you're paying for that kitchen that you're ripping out that's only a couple of years old.
Yeah. So what kind of areas do you cover? Because you live in London, so...
Yeah, so I live in Ruislip, specifically in West London, but I cover West London, so all the way into sort of West Hampstead, Ealing, Chiswick...
Yep.
Those sorts of areas, and then out of London, the other side, I've done projects in Watford, in Amersham, in Chalfont.
Okay.
So yeah, that sort of region. I generally say about an hour travel, which isn't. Yeah, I've even done things in Aylesbury. And from planning perspective, a lot of the rules are similar. So people ask me that, and I think I even had this week somebody go with a different architect, because their architect, so this was only in Harrow, and their architect practice, or somehow they were based 10 minutes from their house. That doesn't actually matter. So you can't choose an architect based on just the proximity. It's just, do they understand their planning?
Yeah. And do they give you ideas? It depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not in everyone's. I don't fit. Well, I don't expect that. I naturally don't expect everyone to. How do I say this? Well, I think it has to be the right fit.
Yeah, I think
it has
so.
to be the right fit. And I think the place, I know now that the place where I really bring the most value is if you're willing to say, okay, strip this out. What can we do that's interesting?
Yeah.
If you're coming to me and you're saying my budget's like basically less than what it's going to cost me, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because the amount of thinking that goes into, firstly, designing the lifestyle on the plan is already going to blow your budget if you're already below budget or already meeting your budget.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you also, as a business owner, and probably years of practice as well, is that you need to know your own worth. So you're not cutting corners.
Yeah.
You're not giving discounts. You just don't, because it's not worth it. The people that ask for discounts.
It's like that. I don't know if you've seen the diagram. You've got like this analogy where you've got the person that just pays. You send them an invoice and they just pay, and they get on with it, or you get on with it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other person, which is somebody who's asked for a discount and I've asked you to cut corners, and they usually end up with more questions. And so you end up spending a disproportionate more time and you've charged less because of their budget. But one of my main turning points was quite early on. It was a year into running my business, and I had this project in central London, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm just going to take it because of the location. But the client, it was very tricky. The outcome was I decided either I do things differently or I quit. And essentially, she told me she didn't need a kitchen design as an example, and she didn't need XYI because she was going to go to a kitchen designer. It's going to be okay. And then and I said, well, there's building regulations associated and I want to do it properly. And I ended up doing it anyway, because I knew that if I didn't put some of these regs on a drawing and show the plan, that it would just be harder to control the outcome.
Yeah.
And then there were bits and pieces about drainage, and she didn't think it was important what I was asking. And then when the builder said that something else came up below ground, she tried to pin that on me by not making it out that it was more important, which I was doing.
Yeah.
And so the whole experience to me just made me realise that actually I have a recommended service for a reason.
Yes.
And the recommended steps and the things that I include in my recommended service is literally based on things that are going to protect you later on. So it's either you go with that or you literally leave yourself open to just potential issues. And those issues just aren't worth it. And I don't really want to work with people that aren't going to... It's not about doing things for the sake of it or having nice to haves or having pretty drawings. It's about how is that information on that drawing protecting you when you go into contract with your contractor?
Yeah.
Or is there something that we don't know yet? How are we communicating that on the drawing? So if we don't know something, then let's say that we've made this decision based on an estimate or an assumption, and it needs to be investigated on site prior to work, for example.
Yeah. Wow, that just rolls off the tongue. Very professional.
Yeah. But I've had all sorts. I had one situation where again, this client in the beginning, I issued them drawings and they were going to do their own tendering with the contractor, which I encourage, but I now do it with extra guidance. So they had sent out whatever drawings they wanted, they thought they needed to send out to this builder. And then they're in construction and the roof's on, and I think there was a leak of some sort. And they come back to me and they're like, we need to have a chat because the roof's leaking and we think you've designed it wrong. And it's like, okay. So then I look at the drawings and it was slightly different to the drawings. But what turned out is that they actually hadn't sent the builder the whole building reg pack. So they'd only sent the builder the planning drawings.
Okay. I didn't even know there was a difference, so please share.
Complete difference. So the planning drawings are just like, this is what it's going to look like on the outside. This is like, you know, like what everyone thinks of as a plan.
Yeah, then like a foundation, really.
Just, you know, even. Like when you have elevations of a house, what it looks like. It's just a fag packet drawings, I call them, you know, like just this is what it looks like. And I try not to put too much information on there either, because I don't want to give the planners too many things to hold us against. But it shows you the scheme.
Yeah.
But you can't build from that, because it doesn't tell you anything about the roof construction. It doesn't tell you anything about the roof angles, the roof tile, selection, nothing. So what happened is that this builder had literally just, I have no idea, he'd used that in the structural engineer's drawing, and he'd guessed the roof pitch, which was not even a compliant roof pitch. So for me, if that builder is putting in a roof angle at 10 degrees or whatever, when the minimum is 17.5 for the roof tile, that is a major flag for me. The builder should not be doing that. He should be stopping and asking questions. So, you know, just me asking that question, so I did a bit of a review, and it came back and it was like, well, this hasn't got to do with me.
Yeah.
But to stop that happening, because then that was a very difficult situation with the homeowner, and even though it had nothing to do with me, it was it added stress on our relationship. So what I do now is I create a pack. I ensure that there's a drawing list register that's issued, and I write them an email to the builder to say, so it's a template, and it includes, it lists out all the drawings that are in there, and I tell the homeowner, this is what you need to issue to so and so, and this is, so it's literally like, now just press send.
Yeah, it's simple, right? You have to really make it simple.
Because also, they're not the experts.
Yeah.
If you're a homeowner, you're not the expert. So if you think, I have to go to that extent to protect my clients, and it is working, you know, I've never had a situation like that since.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you have somebody that does a drawing and just like sends it to the homeowner, and they don't even understand half of the drawings, and then they have to navigate all of the other things themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not a good service if you do that.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So we've got a couple of things on the table. So do you want to share about what these are and give us a bit of a background? You choose which one first.
Well, which one shall I start with? Shall I go with the big one?
Yeah.
So this year I won the Property and Construction Business of the Year in Hillingdon by the Hillingdon Chamber of Commerce, which was amazing. So that's there for you.
Amazing. It looks epic.
I'm super pleased.
Yeah. So how was that process? Like, what did you have to do? And was there a particular project or client reviews that you were able to secure that?
Yeah. So I mean, really, I won that based on the processes that I have in place and how I get my clients to the best possible outcome. And so there were statistics involved, there were things to do with sustainability that I had to demonstrate. And but yeah, as an architectural practice, it didn't actually, I didn't actually say this is a beautiful project, which is how most architectural practices are winning awards. But this almost feels more special because it talks about everything else around my business, and I do have a huge amount of 5-star reviews on Google.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very pleased with that. At the moment, I'm at 60, so I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We will talk about socials and everything like that,
okay.
But you've got your own website and everything, I'm sure.
Yes. So I've got my website, I've got an Instagram account, working hard on kind of how do this whole... Instagram and socials is a whole job in itself. It's
Tell me
really
about
crazy.
So how do you do it? Do you have people working for you, or is this a one-man band?
Well, I do it myself, but I have a team behind the scenes. I have two. My architectural business. I have two drafters that work with me.
Okay.
And one of them does some of my recording with me. And then so
you need someone.
Yeah, so he does some of the more professional looking. He films it and records it because he did photography as part of his sort of architectural training.
Yeah.
So that's super handy. But other than that, working out what the content is, the look, the text, the hook, this is a whole new thing.
It's like you have to learn how to do everything. It's not just social media, but this is where you can gain potential clients.
Yeah.
But it's like the accounting, the
job in
behind the
itself.
scenes, operations, planning your diary, client communication.
Yeah, it really is. Apparently, I'm supposed to be spending a third of my day on like lead generation, which includes content.
Yeah.
But that's tricky.
Yeah. But it comes with practice, maybe.
Yeah. So I think what I try to do is I try to batch prepare content, and then I just schedule it.
Yes.
And then I do live stories as I go.
Okay. Yeah.
And things like that.
That's epic.
Yeah.
You're doing it already. We will talk about something that I really want to talk about, but let's talk about these magazines.
Yeah. So then, in addition to that, I was asked by the business magazine for the Chamber to write an article on sustainability, which I was really pleased to do, actually, because it taps into that holistic outlook on how you design. So there's some of the questions here. You know, why should I be doing this? What are the benefits? And a lot of my homeowners, they'll come to me and they'll say things like, my house feels really cold.
Yeah, reducing bills.
Yeah, reducing bills. My house feels really cold. So we're not just then putting an extension, we're actually addressing all of the different things that don't work.
Yes.
And so sustainability, you know, thermal efficiency, all of these things come together as one. So this article is really tailored and targeted at homeowners. Why should they be thinking smarter about their renovation work? And again, you could spend thousands, like 100,000s on doing a house, and then you could still think it feels cold. Yeah. Or my bills are really high.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important to do it now, because especially everything that's going on with utilities and world economics and everything like that, we need to be a bit more efficient and stuff like that. This is really great.
Yeah, and then so the other magazine that I've been in is the Hillingdon People. So if you're a Hillingdon resident, each Hillingdon resident will get one of these. And this is off the back of my award.
This was before?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I did that. I wrote that one last year. I was asked to write it, so that was quite nice. If I can find it. Yeah. So that was a surprise, actually. One of my school mum friends messaged me because she'd received it a week before I had.
Yeah, nice.
And she said, you're in the Hillingdon People. So, yeah, that's gone out to every Hillingdon resident. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, so that's getting your brand out there again.
Yeah.
With the award.
Yeah, so that was telling them essentially that the award that I won. Yeah.
It was epic. You know, the reels that you did on that, the dress that you wore, I was like, who is this lady? Like, I don't recognise. The gown was amazing. Perfect.
It was. It was pretty out there. I think to be honest, I'm terrible at dressing up. I'm like behind the scenes, my hair up, just working. And so when the award ceremony was coming up, and I thought, okay, right, I need a dress. So I bought my usual like 20 dresses, right? And then half of them go back because they just don't even look good.
Yeah.
And I ended up with that one. And I thought, do you know what? It fits. I'm just gonna be completely OTT, and I'm gonna wear it.
Why not?
And I didn't know I was going to win. I didn't really anticipate it because there were so many fabulous other businesses. And I just like to think of it as, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Yeah. So I wasn't really thinking about it too hard. And I had a joke that I thought, I'll win best dress.
And that's enough for somebody who doesn't dress up, right?
I was like, I'm doing my, I did my hair, I wore it. That dress is not something I wear often. Yeah. But I was pleased to just look that good, to be honest.
Yeah. And you must have got a lot of compliments. Your husband would probably have been like, is that the dress you want to go out in?
Because he's good, actually. He thinks it's quite funny.
Yeah. But it's a confidence as well. And I think as women, we should do that. Yeah. Because that picks us out of the crowd. You could wear black. You would stick up with all the men in black. But that's not you, you know? Why not stand out?
Well, I just thought, every now and then I'm like, I might as well. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I love it. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, what would you tell your younger self?
Good question. I think it's a hard one. I think some of the things that I've been working on recently is especially around, I've worked really hard. I feel like I worked super hard behind the scenes. There's, like you said, there's so many aspects to running your business. Yeah. And I'm doing most of them. And And one of the things that I'm learning is about stopping and celebrating your wins.
Yes.
And I think I've always been this incredibly hard worker, and I don't know whether I've celebrated the wins because my goal is like somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think the advice I would give myself would be to spend more time celebrating your wins. I think the journey, it would be different. Or it will be different. So if anyone's, not doing that, I think it's important to do that. And I'm learning to do that more.
Yeah. No, I think that's key, because I think you get too hard on the working. You don't see the bigger picture of where you've come from and what got you there.
Yeah.
It's those little achievements that get you there. That's
I think
what
also,
propels it.
I think also being in construction and in property, with it being male dominated, I feel that I'm quite a hard sort of focused, driven person anyway.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of always try to be ahead. And so you can't, it's almost like you can't let the soft parts of you show.
Yeah.
And part of that is kind of stopping and saying, I did well. So I've always sort of gone, right, done that next.
Yeah. So living more in the masculine rather than the feminine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that suits my personality to some extent. So I haven't changed entirely, because of the environment. It's in a way suits me. But just acknowledging the wins along the way. Yeah. Because it's only really sometimes when I sit down and I talk to people and we'll have a random conversation and I'll say something that I did and they'll be surprised or like, wow, how did you do that? And then I'll just realise, do you know what? I hadn't even remembered that I did that, and I'd completely forgotten about it. So it's not in my subconscious of, I did well.
Yeah. And I think that's what we need to do more of, and that's what I try and do as well. Like when I saw that you'd won the award, I was like, you need to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Get everywhere. Talk to this person. Do this. Do this.
And you were that was helpful.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm in my own little world, and I'm like, no one asked for your input.
Yeah. I think...
I qualified?
No, I think it's really helpful, and I think you need people that just encourage you and maybe sometimes see things differently.
Yeah.
Because, I just think when you're in it, you don't see how it looks from the outside.
Yeah. Again, it's inspiration.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you are my first friend who's actually like within the power team.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are doing lots of different strategies, but you're part of a power team. You're an expert.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. And when I feel that other people need your advice or could do with your advice and how important your job is to property, it's really, really helpful to share what you've got, and people need to know you've won an award, you're reputable, you're doing articles, you're doing stuff. I think all of that is really key.
There's so many different types of architects. You get your fluffy architects that draw, I don't know, things that can't be built. But their strength is different. My strength is actually, I think I bring together quite a lot because I was trained, at university I drew flying kettles, and I remember my husband saying to me, are you sure you're studying architecture?
Yeah.
But it was learning about the creativity and just thinking outside of the box and things like that. But then because I've worked on residential projects, I worked on commercial projects, and then I worked for a developer building huge developments and houses and understanding all the rules and I worked a lot with builders, so I understand there's a lot I understand and that I've worked across, and that was quite intentional because I knew that I wanted, particularly I think I'm really interested in developing essentially, although my business, architectural business, isn't directly that. But when I understand all of those things, I can understand how money is going to be valuable in this situation. And so then that translates to whether you're doing a transformational project, which is why I say let's go transformational, starting with maybe a complete reconfiguration of the ground floor, to new builds. as well. And then for myself, I do, at the moment, I've been doing investment properties and things like that, and then a few here and there. But it is something that I'm definitely thinking I'm going to do more of, because I'm now getting so many investment contacts and things like that. But as a practice, I have to think about how it's actually going to run.
Scale,
The scale, like tough. How many niches. It's difficult to do everything. I don't want to be one of these practices that does everything, because if you do everything, you kind of don't do them that well.
Yeah. No, I think the way that you're doing it is great. And like I said, with your social content, I'm learning. So please continue, because I think it's needed.
I think the other thing I would say to myself, or to somebody young starting out, is find someone that you can learn from.
Yes.
So I think this is such a, well, maybe it's a classic thing, but having a mentor now, I've not always been too good at doing that, actually. But
asking for help, or
I'm terrible at asking for help.
Yeah, okay.
I think, also I feel like I don't want to bother people. And I think that's the main thing. But if I could give myself an advice, I'd say find someone and build a relationship where it's okay to get advice.
Yeah.
And so now I do have a business coach.
Yeah.
Focusing specifically, I think, now on marketing and things like that. Because if I'm not in front of people, then how will I win any work? Yes. If I'm not talking to them about what they're interested in, there's no point me saying, this is the process, I draw like this, and nobody cares. They want to know if you're going to solve their hallway issue. Exactly. They want to know if they can have their friends over, and if I think about that, or how the space will feel, or will they have more natural light.
Yeah, natural light is so key, especially when we're all working from home. So if there's a way to do that, I think that's very important. Yeah, drawings, anyone can do a drawing. What makes you different?
Yeah, the drawing is a vehicle. The drawing isn't the end result. The drawing is the communication method.
Yeah, it's the journey bit of the goal. Yeah.
It's the way that we describe the outcome. The outcome is the thing that you want.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so what does a typical day look like for you now? Can you do that?
Yeah, I can try.
Okay.
I think I'm going to start with the thing that I'm really pleased about, and it's that I get to be with my children in the morning, and I get to walk them to school.
Wow.
And I'm really pleased with that, and it's almost a non-negotiable for me, because when I was in employment, my hours were such that I couldn't have dropped them to school.
Yes.
And I would struggle to pick them up from after school club.
And that's already a long day after school club.
Yeah. So it was literally, they would have to be in at 8, and I would literally be running to pick them up at 6, or trying to get a childminder to pick them up for me to get them. So that was what I was looking at before. And so now that I get to take them to school in the morning, and to walk them to school specifically, I love that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I try to take, sometimes just if I'm being really good, I try to take the first 30 minutes to kind of centre myself and to think, what am I doing today to really prepare myself? And then the rest of the day typically is a combination of client meetings, team meetings, drawings. I do about 3 hours worth of drawings. And so, there's instructing work, there's talking to my team members, checking work, doing home visits, and socials. So there's quite a lot. So I have a default diary that I try to follow, where I have like a slot for this, slot for that, slot for this, and then I have meetings, like sessions, and then I do new inquiry calls. So it's quite a rigid structure, but it's working.
And it's needed, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be achieving your goals if you didn't have something planned out every day, because you have to do everything a little bit every day.
So I knew I didn't ever want it to be just me. So at the moment I've got 2 support drafters, and they're getting really good. So the as they're developing, is really teaching them as well, because as an owner I can't give my homeowner clients everything if I'm also drawing.
Yes.
So I've got to do the overview, do the strategy, and then hand it off. And it's just it's how an architectural practice runs. But I know that it's going to be better. Having those structures in place. And the support.
Yeah, it's epic. I think what you're doing is epic. So congratulations.
Thank
and is there anything else that you wanted to cover or share?
I don't know.
I feel like I've made you talk a lot. So if you feel like you've said everything that you wanted to, because it's all value, right? Sharing what you've done, where you've come from, why you did it.
Yeah.
Being in property as a woman is very difficult. So if there are like this podcast is here as a resource, you know, it's showing it's showing women on a journey, building what they want to build.
Yeah.
And giving people the choice to know that it's not all about an employee mindset. Yeah. It's not 9 to 5.
If I could give giving advice to women, I'd say just do it, because I think in many ways women are built differently to men.
Yeah, for sure.
And we like to kind of risk assess. You know, so even with me and my husband, when we buy a portfolio project, he's like, let's just do it. And I'm like, give me the numbers, show me the numbers. I'm not having this conversation until you've explained the baseline to me, and then I will but that's because he's such a go, let's do it. And I make him quantify numbers as a starting point, and then I run all the detail checks and things like that. But I think it can be scary doing it on your own, which is why I think you've got to do it first of all. Just find something that you're comfortable to do and do it, or join one of these courses where you can go in like a VIP group or something like that, where they hold you, where they hold your hand and guide you through it. But the main thing here is that I really encourage women to have like their own assets. I love that. I'm this is my personal choice and my personal view, but my husband and I are building it together.
Yeah.
But I don't, if I wasn't married or if I didn't have these assets, I wouldn't want to rely on somebody else or rely on something else happening.
Yeah.
I would want to control my own narrative.
Yeah. Is this your own mindset or is it cultural?
For me.
Did someone tell you this, or is it just what you wanted to do as you grew up?
I think this is the feminine person in me. My husband and I are really a great team, so this is not a reflection on him, but I wouldn't ever want to just have him pay for me or not contribute. I couldn't do that. And I want to be contributing as well.
And that's why I think property is the way to go, or owning your own business. It's yours and no one can take it away.
To me, it's just a no-brainer. You know, you set it up once and it continues to give you rental income forever. And our properties are in a limited company, and so our children can become directors, and so there's no inheritance tax. There's if you just keep buying properties, you're also not paying tax because you're spending the profit that you're making. And why would I give that money to the government,
an employee?
Or be taxed a huge amount. Like, I know that's so I'm not. It's really not about the money that is in my pocket now, because we have a separate bank account for that and everything, and we don't take any of the money. We literally just let it build and just buy properties with it. And at some point we're going to, because we're obviously lending our own money in there as well, but at the moment we're just building, really.
And it's so wonderful to see, you're doing your own thing, you're building with your husband, and then it's for the kids. It's multi-generational.
And even so, I know you had properties in your family growing up. We didn't have that, but it's something I knew I wanted to do as a kid. And I remember saying to Mum and Dad, buy this property, buy this, and they just think, and actually I think at the time our neighbour had rented their house out and he had a terrible, terrible experience. They'd trashed the house, they were squatting, and my mum and dad were like, no, we don't want this headache. And I was like, do it and I'll help you. And I still think if I could change one thing, I would change their action then, because they would have literally been in a completely different situation had they done that. But the conversations I'm now having at home with my kids, we don't necessarily we're quite open with what we talk about. We just talk about stuff when we need to talk about it, because there's really not that many hours in the day once you're together. So if we're having a dinner and, one of our tenants said, oh, we need this, the radiator's leaking or whatever, or we need to do something, we'll literally just talk about it. And
they hear it.
My kids are picking up on this. And my son, I think from like the age of 8, there was this changing point where he was, he piped up and he went, So I've been thinking about this, and you're like, what? And he was like, how about, and it's the way they speak as well, so apparently it's a reflection on how we speak, which is hilarious, but this 8-year-old, like, how about you do this, and then you turn it into that, and then you can rent it, or whatever it is. You know, we were looking at property, and he was like, turn it into a, like, go-karting place, and then rent it, or whatever. I don't know, it's just so funny. And you think, and I just laughed at him, and I thought, he's 8.
Yeah.
And he's pitching in. But he honestly, the way he did it, he wasn't like, oh, I'm this sheepish little 8-year-old without a voice. He was like coming in as an equal.
But it's
which is hilarious, but just brilliant at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so thank you so much for sharing. Do you want to tell everyone about where they can find you?
Yes.
Websites, socials, everything.
Yes. So my website, well, my company name is Live Well Architecture.
Okay.
And my property business is Live Well Property.
Nice.
So they're both sort of following the same brand. And I'm on Instagram under Live Well Architecture. Yep. I'm also on YouTube. There's a couple of videos on there. I've got quite a lot of testimonials, so I'm building those up as well. I've got some that I need to upload. So if you want a little bit more long form content, YouTube's the place to go. But other than that, most of it's happening on Instagram, a few bits on LinkedIn.
Yep.
But yeah, if anybody wants to talk to me, they can DM me on Instagram.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming. I've had a really good conversation and I've learned a lot. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
No problem.
Yeah.